Welcome back to the Complete Guide to Horror podcast. Today we're discussing The Highway to Hell with Final Destination 2, released in 2003 to moderate critical success and fan acclaim. In the sequel, we find out what has happened to the Clear Rivers character. Disappointingly, we only get a little snippet about what happened to Alex Browning, the major character from the first one. Now, interestingly, I had always thought up until a couple of weeks ago that the reason why the character didn't return, Alex Browning's character didn't return, was because maybe Devon Sawa had a pay dispute or Devon Sawa had other projects and didn't want to come back.
His fucking plane can explode!
No, he actually wanted to come back. He tried to get involved in the sequel. Unfortunately, what happened was that with the audience reception from the first Final Destination, that they actually preferred the Clear Rivers character. What they wanted to do was have a female-centric main character for Final Destination 2. So that's where we get Kimberly, that's where we get the entire different opening premonition sequence involving that highway, motor chase, car log. Everything you can think of, and it also did lay down a bit of a pattern with the sequel in which each subsequent entry follows a different group of people, a different main character, and things go from there into absolute carnage. I am always nervous watching this opening sequence of Final Destination 2. I remember watching it the first time. You never know if it's the log truck that's going to cause all this chaos, if it's going to be the motorbike that's going to cause a crash, or if it's going to be the cop because, well, he's a cop and they're always shit at driving. Just like other little things too, like the mother and son that are always distracted while driving. There's the executive five-head bitch. Yeah.
There's the school bus of kids going, pile up.
Hey, let's go.
The truck driver drinking beer that says drink responsibly.
Yeah. Oh, did you? I didn't notice this, or at least didn't remember this from the first time that I watched this. But the other day when I watched that, the driver, the main character, was it Kimberly? Did you say? Notices that person drinking, and it was like, how irresponsible! And then puts her seatbelt on.
Yeah, I noticed that. I wonder if it's at the time where if US had, I thought for a long time US hadn't sort of regulated wearing seatbelts until sort of in the 2000s.
Yeah, that's a good point. There might be some states where it was like optional.
Which I always found weird considering here we, it's always been pretty much mandatory.
Seatbelts, everyone! Please let this be a normal field trip with a friend? No way! Oh, come on! Ride on the magic school bus!
This is the same place where people were afraid to pump their own gas. So,
yeah. BP, we'll start with you. What was your favorite part of the film?
I actually really liked the airbag scene, and it sounds bad, but I kind of laughed when I watched it the other day because I found it so funny when she's like, "Don't be too rough," and he just like crams the thing into the door, and then the airbag goes off and he gets catapulted. And I also like the scene where he gets slit. And it reminded me of that movie Ghost Ship. And if anyone's seen that movie.
Oh my God. Yes.
When they're dancing at the start and they all get split by the rope or the line. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think it was too bad. I can't sort of say I'm just sort of looking again at what was in it. It wasn't really memorable, to be honest. I mean, the log scene.
Yes, log. All kids love log.
What rolls downstairs, a motor and pairs, rolls over your neighbor's dog. What's great for a snack and fits on your back? It's log, log, log. It's log, log. It's big, it's heavy, it's wood. It's log, log. It's better than that, it's good.
It was good, but I sort of found it a bit ridiculous about how many cars just kept hitting the scene. It's not like it was in fog or something where you wouldn't be able to see the crash at the last minute. So I think like at the speed they were doing, I'm sure in real life scenario, I think like only maybe 3 or 4 cars would be involved and everyone else would be able to stop in time. But it just seemed like this scene went on for like 3 or 4 minutes. And then at the end with the truck coming through the fire, I was just like, is this like a Terminator thing or something?
It
was all right.
I don't know what it is, but yeah, the log trucks just, they will haunt me forever.
Yeah. There's all those memes now, and it's always like everyone's got the same idea and they're just like in the right lane or the left lane avoiding the log truck.
Yep.
It's interesting though, like when you talk about the log truck, because the other thing I always notice, particularly as a passenger, not so much when you're driving, but The other sort of truck that I always sort of go, is like the car carrying trucks. And you sort of just look at these cars that are just bouncing on the back and they're sort of like this. And then you're just sort of thinking like, it only takes one shackle to break.
It's insane, hey? Like
it takes one shackle to break. And then what? You're behind and then you're fucking you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
I always feel like those like car truck things, like maybe they're empty and then they purposely brake real hard so that you end up on them. They're like, ha, I can't now, bitch.
Like a saw trap or something, right?
Wrong episode. When was it? I think it was towards the end of last year that we had some crazy winds in Melbourne, and I was on the way to work, and had I left 60 seconds earlier, I would have been under a tree. It was insane. Yeah. So like it was on the way. There was I don't think anyone actually got hurt or anything like that. Like it wasn't a big enough tree to kill anybody, but it would have, damaged a few cars and all that kind of thing. But yeah, a tree hit the power line and just, came down on the road on my way to work. And it was like 6 cars ahead. It was insane. It was, so I was a little rattled when I got to work that day.
Yeah. Did you bump into like a coroner at all? And he was like, you cheated death, and you're like, righto.
No, thankfully nothing. Nobody came talking at me in riddles or anything like that. So I'm still here.
What makes you think I know anything? You changed things on that bridge. It's a wrinkle in reality, and that wrinkle is you. You're not supposed to be here. You shorted death. So you let death have somebody else in your place, and then you take their spot in the realm of the living, all the days and years that they've yet to live. And they take your place in death.
What are our thoughts on the death scenes? This one bothered me so much as a kid, but now when I watch it, I laugh at it. The one where it's Nora and she's in the elevator and she ends up getting decapitated. When I watched it as a kid, I hated that scene. I was terrified of it, didn't like it. I thought it was unnecessarily cruel. But now when I watch it, I'm like, oh my God, just get in the fucking elevator. It's something where that one is so, as you mentioned, like completely avoidable.
Yeah.
Like, and then how they're like, it's the man with hooks. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
That's the one where I just don't think it holds up today, personally. But
yeah, for sure. My favorite, just because it's brutal. I like the ones where there's a few fake outs before the payoff, particularly in Final Destination. The dentist scene with the gas and everything, falling into his mouth and all that kind of thing. And then, the pigeons, what are the pigeons going to do? And then he just gets a plate of glass dropped on his head. Just simplicity after all that. Kind of like what you were saying about with the first movie with all these little things that are happening in the house and what's going to kill the teacher kind of ends up being kind of simple in the end.
Also, how hasn't that dentist relocated yet with all those pigeons smashing into the window?
Yeah.
I'd be like, dude, it's time to relocate.
In and he's just like, oh, how did that? Yeah. Oh, again. It's like, well, do something about it, mate.
I think that scene's really good in a way that, I don't know if it's CGI or what they did, but they, showing the drilling in the mouth, and I hate the dentist, I hate the needles, I hate seeing all that stuff. But and it sort of already makes me feel on edge watching it. So I think they kind of, if they didn't show that sort of inside mouth thing, I don't think that scene would have been as good as it was. It was actually a good scene. So it's kind of, you get sort of just like needles, and then they're showing him. And I was just thinking, like, if the bird's going to hit the window, is he going to like with the needle or whatever?
Yeah, exactly. Something going to go. Is it the dentist that's going to kill him? That's
that kind of shit. I forgot about it when I was watching it. Yeah.
My personal favorite scene overall in Final Destination 2 is with Evan's death. I love everything to do with the opening sequence where he's like obviously bought a bunch of shit because he won the lottery. So he's like living it up, and all his ex-girlfriends are coming back to try and get some of the goods. I was just like, something's going to happen because he's living the high life. But then there's so many little things too, like the magnet that falls down into the noodle box, it spells out the word I in the background, which is like a nice little indicator of what will actually happen to him. But, is he going to die from fire? Is he going to die from a gas leak? Or is he going to die from something else? And then it turns out it's because he slipped on the spaghetti that he threw out the window earlier. Like,
exactly. And I'd love
that shit.
I would like to point out with that, the fact that lottery or not, that man was living like a pig and he was going to die one way or another.
I always find with some Final Destination movies, they seem to get rid of the most interesting character first and then leave the most boring mayonnaise-fueled people until like the last death scenes. And it's just like, really? You chose to like keep this person to the end?
Yeah.
Like, I do, but then I do wonder how would the movie have changed dramatically. We saw with Kat, the girl who gets impaled through the head when the SES guy like full fucks up the car and everything. Like at first she's like, I don't believe in this, da 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 da. And then she does form a bond with the rest of the survivors group. There was at least some minimal character development, which I liked because it did make me care for her and it did make me think, holy shit, when she died. Yeah. Some of the others, like the Stoner character, I mean, I didn't care when he died. Yeah. Like it was cool, but it's like,
Yeah, they didn't really do much with that character, did they? Well, I guess character development wasn't amazing on most of the Final Destination movies as much as it could have been. But yeah, that Stoner character was just like, oh, I got higher here once. It's like, all right, cool.
Where did you get that suit?
Whoa, one question at a time. Yes, you?
Look, I'm really starting to worry. There's half-eaten cupcakes everywhere. We're all out of paper clips. And the curtains smell like doob.
Oh, yeah? Well, I got news for you. I just got promoted, and it's all thanks to Yes I Cannabis. We have a kitchen?
He reminds me so much of my older sister, and I know she'll probably listen to this podcast, but I mean it in a loving way. I don't know. The rest of the Final Destination 2, I think it's a good sequel? No. The only reason why I say that is because they continued the story with Claire and with Alex in the first one, but it was done so shit. I mean, they could have done something to really help Clear River's character actually have a full-fledged journey. 1 minute she's in the mental hospital voluntarily, and I know that's not right terminology, but fuck it. And then one day later, she's like, hey, guys, I just went shopping at H&M. Like,
yeah, right.
The fuck?
I remember Clear being in the movie more. When I've, at least that's how I remembered it, was her having more scenes. But when I was watching it this time, I was like, damn, she's in like 3 or 4 scenes. She's not really a massive part of it. They could have done way more with that character.
Where have you been, bitch? Where have you bloody been?
And the character's not, it almost feels like a different character from the first one as well. It's the same actress playing a different character with the same name.
It's me, the new Jan Brady. Let's knock over a 7-Eleven.
I think my biggest bugbear with that movie, which I mentioned in the first movie, was that the death with Alex was merely, like I just wrote, it was merely mentioned by Claire through like a Polaroid, and there was really not much around it. And it just sort of seemed really like half-assed, considering he was like the main guy in the first movie. And it's sort of like they just feel like they had to mention it and then just sort of keep going. And it's interesting. You'd think that if they were going to mention, got hit by, was it a brick? I think it was. It says it gets hit by a brick. They would show it or do a flashback quickly or show it. It just seemed really, I was so confused because I was watching the second one and I was thinking, wait, she's back. Where's he? And I was on Wikipedia at the same time trying to work out what's going on. Like I was so confused why he just merely disappeared from the first one. Because at the end, you don't know what happens.
They could have thrown Devin some money for a flashback scene or something.
Yeah,
even if they wanted to move forward with Clear as a character, but is what it is.
Yeah, it just seems weird. But like you said, Justin, what he was offered to come back and couldn't, or what was the?
No, he wanted to come back for the sequel, but the studio itself wanted to have just a female-led cast. So they wanted to have Clear involved. They wanted to have Kimberly come back, but they wanted to forge ahead with the new group of people. If they brought the Alex character back and they had Devon Sawa just like be killed at the beginning, fans would be angry about it. But I don't know how they didn't see that. Just like killing him off in a Polaroid would be somehow better than that.
It should just been an opening montage sort of thing, and then go straight, like do credits and then go straight into Claire's story. That's what they should have done.
Well, like they still could have had both those characters involved. Like maybe they were in one of the cars. Like there was so many opportunities for them to still be involved and still have the main story with Kimberly and the other group of survivors, but still have Alex and Clear. I don't know. I feel like that was a really big risk that they made by not involving Alex, and it didn't necessarily pay off.
And they still tried to make it seem like it was all really interwoven without including that character as well. Because, I don't know if you remember that scene where they're all in the car and like, oh, well, you think this is weird? I've had this near-death experience, and they're all related to the first movie.
I almost died.
So definitely a missed opportunity there.
I wonder if they also, with Claire, maybe went on sort of like a rampage in terms of like with Scream, with Sidney Prescott being a female lead, and they sort of saw the success of that and sort of wanted to kind of go off that success and sort of go, well, we want to do a female lead as well at the same time. Because I don't know if there were any other horror movies that sort of had a female lead apart from Scream around that point, because you would have Scream 2 and Scream 3 coming out. So I wonder if they sort of looked and went, audiences go to movies to see a girl.
Yeah, historically, I mean, Scream Queens, it works. Just look at Jamie Lee Curtis and all that kind of shit. Like, it's a winning formula. I don't blame them for doing that, but they could have done more to sort of make the story more cohesive.
I mean, I thought Alex was likable in the first one. Like, I was sort of gunning for him to the end. I didn't think he was annoying as sort of some of the other ones in the future movies are. So I sort of, it's very confusing that was just sort of very skimmed over. And it likens me to sometimes when I've seen other movies. One of them was the Independence Day, and then they brought out Independence Day Resurgence. I don't know if anyone saw that.
Nope.
No. I did not know there was an Independence Day sequel. What?
Yeah, it's called Resurgence, came out in like 2016. And so Will Smith was in the original one. I don't know if you guys have seen the original one.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I think IMDb obviously didn't want to come back and been a bit of a big shot and wanted like a ridiculous amount of money to appear. And in the movie, the son's in it who's just some nobody, and they just merely mention his name or show a photo, and that's it.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of like, okay, there's no real sort of backstory as to why he's there. And I'm just like, okay.
They did that shit as well with The Craft Legacy, where they had a Polaroid of Nancy from the Craft movie in 1996. But then she actually does the actress name, Fairuza Balk. I always say names horrifically wrong, but she was the one that played Nancy in the original. And at the end of that movie, she's like, I'm flying. And she's in the mental hospital. At the end of The Craft Legacy, she makes a cameo appearance. And it's like, what? Why didn't they market that better with the trailers?
You don't even exist to me!
So was the sequel a success? While there were many missed opportunities, such as killing off the original survivors, this sequel provides the high-octane thrills that horror fans have come to adore with this franchise. Thanks for tuning in. In the next episode, we discuss roller coasters, tanning, and more with Final Destination 3. Feel free to subscribe, like, comment, and share. And if you hated our podcast, I hope you get stuck behind a log truck, and I'll be the one driving it.
Welcome to Mario Kart.